May 2, 1946. Somewhere in the Oregon beachfront house, the family man wakes up and grabs a lantern in the middle of the night, leaving his wife and daughter seemingly sleeping. Despite the heavy rainstorm, he climbs down the water tank located in their backyard of his house. He suddenly gets attacked by an unseen creature. He tries to climb out of the tank, but the creature is too powerful to pull him inside, prompting him to scream in excruciating pain. The current year of the film is 1978, in Oakland, California. The new family wife, Julie's, is running a pet store selling a variety of animals along with her husband, Ben, and their daughter, Rhea. The family is struggling financially, so Ben has to close the store early so that he will wake up early to go to the bank the next morning. Before closing the shop, a family attorney goes by the name of Amos Tilbury walks into their shop and informs Ben and Jules that, as he was going through his files, he came across the documents for a property owned by Ben's late mother in Hobbits Bay, Oregon. Now we understand that Ben is the son of the man shown in the movie's opening scene. The attorney provides Ben with ownership documents and the keys to the beach house in Oregon. Amos continues to reveal that Ben's father and sister didn't die in a car accident as Ben had believed, but they mysteriously disappeared around their beach house in Oregon. Only Ben's mother survived the tragedy, and she was taken to a psychiatric hospital, where she gave birth to Ben. The news surprises both Ben and Julie. They decide to visit their property. Very early in the morning, the family packs their necessary belongings and sets off for Oregon. They go off the highway and follow a map through the woods, only to find a fallen tree in the middle of the road. So they walk the rest of the way to their destination. They wander for a while before arriving at the deserted house, which is now totally covered in vegetation. Unlocking the door, they enter the dusty but seemingly still functional interior. Jules opens the back door and is greeted by a stunning view of the bay. Shortly thereafter, the family finds the water tank in the backyard. Ben says that rainwater was previously collected in these kinds of tanks. He decides to go down to check. As he explores the interior, he discovers that it resembles a cave more than all. He discovers a lantern that his father left the day he got attacked inside of it. He discouraged his daughter from climbing down inside in their absence because it would not be a good idea. Then they got home camping gear from their vehicle. The family then begins to clean the house as thoroughly as they can. Ben suggests that they can stay longer, but Julius wants to be in the house for a few days because it's scary. Ben and Julius go through some pictures and newspaper clippings they discovered while cleaning the house. The clippings about Ben's father and sister's enigmatic disappearance report. Furthermore, they discover Ben's mother's diary, wherein she describes the abduction of her husband on a stormy night as well as the later disappearance of her daughter 5 days later. Ben doesn't believe in any story about it because his mother was mentally disabled. In the middle of the night, Rhea hears an odd noise coming from outside her room as she tries to fall asleep. She checks through the window, but she can't see anything. She then notices movement beneath her bed and gets scared, prompting her to run to her parents' room to tell them that something is trying to get inside the house. Immediately, Ben and Julie's each go through the entire house. Saddeningly, Julie hears suspicious noises while searching. She follows the sound with the lamp to the backyard. Again, nothing is to be seen. When she turns around, Ben surprises her, thinking that there is no sound at all. They stroll back to their sleeping quarters. When Jules awakens the following morning, she finds Ben trying to repair the home's damaged generator components because there is no water. Ben descended into the water tank again, a short while later, to examine the pipes. Once he adjusted the valves, Ben checked to make sure they were functioning. Ben finds a strange creature lying on the ground before leaving the tank. He takes it to the house and shows it to his wife. However, Julie's, an animal specialist, cannot identify the creature despite her extensive knowledge. She has never seen a species like this. After a quick inspection, she surmises that it might be a subterranean or an amphibian larva and advises that they should preserve it and bring it home to investigate more. Rhea is playing with her dog in the backyard. It barks when it notices something about the water tank. Rhea checks and screams when she looks inside and is startled to see a big animal moving around within. Ben and Julie dash to meet her, but the tank holds nothing. In that instant, real estate blocker Muriel Tigney arrives, saying Amos had dispatched her. She extends her offer of help in selling the house. She says she already has a buyer who is keen to complete the deal quickly. The suggested selling price surprises the seller because it is more than they had anticipated. Despite being happy with the offer, they decide to give it some thought before making the final decision. They ask her about the history of the property because they don't know much about it. She responds by saying that since the 1700s, there have been stories floating around about the area being cursed. The local people who live here claim that the land is cursed because hundreds of years ago, a terrible tsunami hit the region. Muriel tells them that her car got stuck in the mud, and she has to foot back before it's dark. She walks through the woods to her vehicle and is suddenly accosted by an enigmatic being. It pulls her far into the wilderness, screaming out of pain. Jules hears her screaming and wakes up Ben to investigate by going downstairs. Jules is gazing out the kitchen window at a silhouette in the shadows, causing her to scream for Ben. Ben looks out the window as he comes down, but it has already disappeared. Ben tells Jules, who is itching to get out of this house, that he will speak with the blocker the following day, so she should go back to sleep. Ben discovers the next morning that the tap water is utterly contaminated. Consequently, he makes his way to the water tank to look at the problem. There, Ben finds a piece of cloth clogging the pipes and spots a dead raccoon floating on the water. He takes the corpse outside and displays it to his wife, persuading her that the thing their daughter saw the night before was probably a raccoon. Ben makes the decision to fill up his automobile at a nearby petrol station. Hurrying through the forest, he finds Muriel's abandoned vehicle. He looks about inquisitively for any clues and discovers bloodstains on the ground. Upon following the trail, he unexpectedly comes across real estate agent Muriel's disfigured corpse. Terrified, Ben scrambles back to his car and calls the police to request assistance right away. Jules discovers the water tank hatch is left open, but, surprising enough, Ben left it closed. As she comes downstairs, she sees water dripping on the floor all over the house. Jules tries to move outside, but the door is locked from outside. After taking the keys from the drawer, she heads to the next room, where she finds another diary written in Ben's mother's hand. Jules discovers a description of the terrifying ordeal Ben's mother went through in the house and the rationale behind her deceiving Ben about reality. It turns out that the water tank is home to a number of horrifying monsters. Her husband and daughters were killed by them. Ben's mother packed up her things and left the house as soon as she learned about it. Jules hears footsteps outside as she carries on reading the diary. She decides to check on her daughter out of concern, but it appears that someone has locked the door from the outside. Jules quickly smashes a window, rushes upstairs to Rhea, and locks the door. Ben decides to go back home rather than go to the gas station. He is relieved to find his family safe and reveals what he has found in the woods, Muriel's lifeless body. Good enough, he has called the police. Jules informs Ben what she has learned from her mother's diary, and in the last line of the book, it states that if anyone ever finds this book, he should run away from this house. Jules starts to pack so that they should leave. However, Ben convinces her to wait a little longer, telling her that the sheriff is on his way. Ben makes the unbelievable decision to return to the woods in the interim. The police sheriff shows up on time and makes a quick stop near Muriel's vehicle. He then goes on to investigate the matter, but he discovers nothing unusual. This causes him to head back to his car, and it's then that he feels someone following him. It is a massive reptile with long, pointed teeth. The beast attacks the sheriff and pulls him far into the woods before he reaches for his Hollister to shoot the monster. Ben decides to run back to his family when he stumbles upon this horrific scene in the woods. He explains what transpired to his wife, stressing that they must find a way to get through the night. Given that these creatures are only visible at night and it seems they have anesthesia in the tank, Ben comes up with a plan to use kerosene and leftover highly explosive fertilizer to make a homemade bomb. Ben refuses to listen to Jules, who tries to talk him out of it by pointing out the high risk involved. It is their sole means of escape and survival. He orders his wife to hide out in one room, and whatever happens she should not open the door. Ben mixes the fertilizers and kerosene before going down the tank. Ben heads into the cavernous tank with a torch and finds the sheriff's corpses inside the tank. Jules and Rhea hear a loud knock on the door in the interim. With a sense of relief, Jules carefully unlocks the door and sees that it's their dog. Ben sets off the makeshift bomb, and he quickly makes his way out. Unfortunately, the bomb goes off much faster than he thought it would and the impact isn't that great. The monstrous creature attacks him after becoming aware of the bomb's sound. Ben struggles desperately to escape the craters and comes out of the tank, suffering severe injuries. Additionally, Jules and Rhea hear a stronger knock on the door again. Jules realizes that it's the beast. Then she uses a cupboard to hold off the door. But through a window, another creature enters the room and pulls Rhea outdoors and into the water tank, screaming for Dad's help. Julie hastily dashes outside to her daughter's aid while observing Ben, who is critically hurt and helpless, lying on the top of the tank. Ben is too weak, he's no longer able to fight. So Jules decides to lead the mission to save their daughter from the giant amphibian's grasp. As an expert on predatory animals, she is aware that poisons and pesticides can deter amphibians from approaching because they breathe through their skins, so she covers herself in insecticide, uses gasoline to make a temporary fire torch, and grabs a garden fork before climbing down the tank. As she enters the cavern, she acknowledges that the creatures are trying to encircle her. She dispenses the chemicals into the water to ward off the monsters. Going a little further, Julie finds her daughter Rhea, fortunately unhurt, and then she keeps her daughter in a safe spot in the direction of the exit. She has to make her getaway when she runs out of gasoline shortly after. Jules is attacked by one of the creatures, and it drags her under the water. But Jules uses the garden fork to kill it after valiantly battling against it. Eventually, the mother and daughter are able to get out of the water tank, and Jules shuts the lid right before the monster appears. Immediately, Jules first takes the dog and his daughter to the vehicle, where she gets a gun. Then she goes back to bring her husband. Jules carries Ben to the car. Suddenly, the creature appears on their car's roof, and Julie shoots a lethal bullet that enters the giant's brain to put it to death. She steps on the gas to leave the cursed land. After driving for some miles, Julie pulls over when she reaches a safer area to calm herself down. She continues to ride through the woods when she reaches the highway to the city. This brings the movie to an end. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications to watch more of my videos. Have a good day.